Hello and welcome to the Tuesday night edition of the State of Scottish Football with me, Robbie Henratty, and tonight I am joined by Michael McEwen. So, as always, on the State of Scottish Football, we are live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything and everywhere you can find us, I'm sure. So, let's start. How are you doing, Michael?
Yeah, I'm okay. Nice to meet you, Robbie. This is the first time I've been on with you, so yeah, it's nice to put a face to the name, as I say.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm sure, as the title alludes to, we've got lots to discuss on the show this evening, so really excited for it.
Yep.
So I think we'll start on the hot topic surrounding Rangers in the past 24 hours. Viewers to this show probably know what's been going on, but Rangers have said they've been left in an almost impossible situation after a late U-turn by the French government is now allowing travelling fans to attend Thursday's Europa League game in Lyon. Like, just 24 hours ago, they was told they couldn't go. What's your thoughts on that, Michael?
Yeah, I know when I saw it today, I was like, that doesn't seem right. It seems a bit weird. And I thought it was because of COVID as well, but apparently it's to do with a festival that they hold in kind of like France every year. And obviously they knew about the festival last December, and they knew that Lyon had a game coming up against Rangers in December this month. So you would say, well, it really doesn't make sense, the whole kind of like story. And I've heard of Rangers fans in the past ever basically saying that who's going to refund us as well. That's a big kind of like question. But would it be Rangers? Would it be Lyon or whatever? So there's more to this story than kind of like meets the eye. I think UEFA might actually possibly find not fine, but fine Lyon for the kind of carry on over this as well, because they should just left it in Monday night and said, the Rangers fans are not going and that's it. But instead of that, they come out and say, oh no, well, yeah, they can go. And what are they going to say tomorrow? No, you can't. So it's a bit like the hokey cokey that you're in and out a lot. And, it just kind of baffles me when I heard that story, Usually you hear that kind of nonsense in Scottish football, but not in European football.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head saying the hokey cokey. Like, I really thought when I saw it, just sums up the last year and a half of what's been going on. You get told one thing, then it changes. And I do feel for Rangers. There was allocated 2,220 tickets for the game. I can imagine, knowing Rangers fans, there probably a lot more have planned to have travelled. So to be told at such a last minute yesterday, oh no, my plans are not happening, to then be told I can actually be going. Can imagine the scramble they'll be making to try go at this moment in time.
Yeah, I mean, especially this time of year, because money's tight because of Christmas and all that coming up as well. But you would imagine that most Rangers fans would go book this kind of European trip when the club was actually made back in September. So if you imagine that the Rangers fans has been looking forward to going to Lyon for the past couple of months, and just to get a door basically slammed in your face to say you're not going anymore, of course you're going to get a bit annoyed as well, So yeah, I mean, obviously we're speaking about tonight, and but I think you haven't heard the end of this story actually, but as I say, I mean, you might find that UEFA will step in some kind of way. I'm not sure the way that they would do it at the moment, but I think maybe a fine would be feasible, because and yeah. So I guess it just kind of baffles me, the whole kind of like story.
Yeah, for viewers that don't know, and you kind of alluded to a little bit of it, Lyon is staging its traditional Festival of Lights. So Rangers were notified by the French Minister of Interior that this would test the policing resource and city infrastructure. It
Yeah,
just seems like it's baffling. Like, the more I read it and more I've looked into it this afternoon, I was just thinking, how was that allowed? Because Rangers have had to cancel the corporate flight as well, which cannot be rearranged.
I'm just imagining the headlines in the Derek or papers tomorrow. The lights goes out on the Rangers fans as they go to France over a light festival. You know, it doesn't seem right to me at all. You know, but yeah, I mean, someone actually smeg a kind of mess of it, and a big mess at that. And that's the only word I can use on this platform, apart from swearing. But don't worry, I'm not going to do that. Not this time of night. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem right at all. Especially, I mean, Rangers has qualified for the next round, so that you know. But obviously, if you're a Rangers fan, you're going and you're expecting the team to put on a good show as well. But you know, it's yeah. So the news is just come out tonight, and you know, it's stupid because it's 24 hours before the actual supporters kind of goes away to France. You know, and I suppose that you were right early on what you were saying about COVID. I mean, people's just desperate to get out the houses now or whatever, or maybe go to the shops instead of being in lockdown for the past year. And, you know, when people say, well, I'm going to France, and then somebody said, no, you're not. You know, it's taking people's kind of rights away a wee bit, you would say there. But yeah, I'm not. Yeah, it doesn't seem right to me, that one. It doesn't seem right to me, yeah. And they say that December's a season of goodwill as well.
I know you actually point out something quite funny. You say about getting to France. I think that's what the Festival of Light are telling Rangers fans not to get to France, but I'm not going to swear on this platform either. But it certainly is something that's interesting, and as you say, we won't hear the end of that story for sure. But just on the topic of Rangers, they have ensured Europa League football past Christmas. I think they will play one of the Champions League dropouts in a game to reach the last 16. Just how great is that for Rangers and I guess Scottish football as well to have a club in the Europa League past Christmas?
Yeah, and again, it's brilliant to see fans back at the European football as well, because that kind of like makes the atmosphere. But yeah, I mean, it's brilliant to see Scottish football, you know, Rangers in this case, making it past, and Celtic obviously making it past Christmas to competitions. And you could argue that the Celtic is in the bottom where the Conference League, but it's still European football. But yeah, it's brilliant to see, and hopefully the coefficient will go up to help kind of like Scottish football. I don't know about you, but I can't get my head around the European football this season, because if you get knocked out the Champions League, you get put in the Europa Cup, and then if you get put out that, you're in the Conference League. So I mean, it's not up here in Scotland where you get knocked out the Scottish Cup and that's you out altogether, you know.
Yeah,
so,
it is
yeah, I mean, it's brilliant to see.
Yeah, it's brilliant to see. And as you speak about, good for the coefficient of Scottish football to have more Champions League and Europa League places, because I think this season there's 2 Conference League places that now teams going to. But I did find that one a tad strange that a team could end up at 2 European competitions before Christmas and still be playing European football after Christmas. I think it's a nice way in the back door for teams there. But just on, as we chat about Rangers to start this show, new manager, as it's probably been spoken about a lot on this show, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. He'll be glad as well to be taking over a Rangers side that is hot on form since the disappointing League Cup semi-final defeat, and knowing that they're in European football past Christmas with these exciting ties. We've got Lyon in the final game and then more ties after Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny when a new manager comes in. I mean, you see it with any other club, not even in Scotland, but in Europe as well. When there's a new manager comes in, the team gets a big lift or a big kick in terms of, performing actually better. But, they're fighting for their places because the new manager has come in. But I think I said last week on the pod as well that, even though it's Van Bronckhorst has been the manager, but to be honest, it's not his team because, the window's not opened yet. So, but I think Rangers will strengthen in the new year. And then you could say, well, yeah, Van Bronckhorst has brought in one or two players. And don't forget that he was a hero at Ibrox as well for kind of like many years as well, a fan favourite as well, But yeah, he's did well. I mean, I've saw them the last few games and scored a lot of goals, and they actually look a bit more tighter at the back at times as well. But as you say, that December the hard month, they've got the Lyon game, and they've got I think they go to Aberdeen in a few weeks, and they go to Tynecastle at the weekend. And obviously they've got the Glasgow Derby coming up in the new year, and that's going to be a big test for both teams, I would say.
For sure. You look at Rangers, you speak about the fixtures. Well, since that semi-final defeat, they have defeated Sparta Prague 2-0, defeated Livingston 3-1, beat Hibs away from home 1-0, and just won 3-0 against Dundee. So definitely momentum's with Rangers. 5 points clear at the top, but as you say, Hearts, St Johnstone, Dundee United, St Mirren, Aberdeen and Celtic the next 6 games. So that could really define and change what could happen in the Scottish Premiership, as well as what the January transfer plans are going to be, because you make that a good point that it isn't Giovanni Van Bronckhorst's squad, it's Steven Gerrard's, and as we'll go move on to Celtic in a minute, Ange Postecoglou's seen that with he's slowly getting in his own players and stamping that authority, and that's what people watching Rangers are probably noticing that game by game there as well under Van Bronckhorst.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you were rhyming off the games there, I think that I don't know about you, Robbie, but I think that Celtic, the Rangers has got the most, the hardest running to that game against Celtic at Parkhead, because the majority of the games are all away. I mean, going to Tynecastle at the weekend, going to Aberdeen in a few weeks as well. So yeah, and. St Johnstone, did you say that was away?
Yeah.
So, Rangers has got the hardest kind of like running, but Scottish football, it can just turn in the heartbeat, and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, the Rangers fans would be excited at the moment to see that their team performing well, and also the new manager on board as well.
Yeah, and just before we move on to the other side of the old firm, do you feel like if you've got to put blue tinted specs on, Rangers going for a guy like Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, an ex-fan's favourite, do you think that is also a good move in terms of, even if they do have a sticky patch, the fans will look at Van Bronckhorst and still see that he's a legend, he can turn it around? Because we're looking at for the next 6 games, and there's always got to be, as you say in Scottish football, there's always got to be that little blip.
Yeah, well, I suppose that it's a bit like the Neil Lennon effect, when he was at Celtic and people said that, well, the fans will maybe buy him a bit more time because he was a legend as well. But, football fans are very fickle at times. It doesn't matter if you're a legend or not. All they want to win is all they want to do is win games, and that stops with the manager at the end of the day and all that. I know that times before that on here that we spoke about our players not playing well as well. But I mean, at the end of the day, the buck stops at the manager, kind of. You know, and yeah, it's a bit kind of like unfair. So I mean, if he had a decent run up to the winter shutdown, I think Celtic's the last game before the shutdown. Then you know that the fans will kind of love him even more, you know. But I mean, he's only in the door. It's kind of early days yet, but no, it's good. It's doing well, I suppose, so far. But as I say, it's not really his team. I know it's a bit unfair of me to say that, but you know, it's not Steven Gerrard's left his players there. And I mean, if I was, you know, if I was a Rangers fan, I would be a bit disappointed in Steven Gerrard walking out, not even halfway through the season, you know.
For sure, and I do laugh when I always speak about club legends managing teams. Anyone watching sees a team behind me will know how one of the last club legends fared at Aberdeen, so it wasn't great. But moving on to Celtic, they won 3-0 at Tannadice at the weekend. Many gained a lot of plaudits for the performance, but the main talking point from that game was referee Don Robertson only booking Callum Butcher for catching David Turnbull on the shins with a studs-up lunge, would you say? What was your thoughts on that whole debacle before we get into what's came from it there?
I think I'm more now get the Dundee United coach shouting for a flow in. You know, but no, I mean, seriously, it was it could have finished David Turnbull's career, you know. And if you were watching the game 10 minutes later, he tackled, I can't remember who it was, but he lunged in again and he got away with it. You know, I think it was a free kick to Celtic at the time. But I mean, you know, that just sums up the ref kind of over the back, and I hope that the SFA goes very. I hope the SFA kind of like puts Don Robertson over hot coals, because that's terrible. You know that you know someone's going to end up with a leg break as well. And you know, I'm not just talking from a, you know, the Celtic or Rangers point of view, but there's other clubs as well, Robbie. You know, I heard David Martindale coming out the weekend as well to say, you know, because they had an offside decision in the game at the weekend. So it doesn't happen to like the you know, the top two. It can happen to any kind of team. And in Scotland, and you know, VAR, that I suppose that would be maybe another talking point for another night. But you know, a lot of fans are for VAR now in Scottish football. But as I say, it all depends who's watching the VAR, who's the ref, who's actually on the kind of like VAR duties that night, and what kind of game it is as well. But back to your point about Butcher, I mean, all he did was give out 2 fouls and get away with it. And that's what he did, get away with it. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a shocking season for the refs as well. But, you know, players know that, and I hate to say this, but players know that they can get away with it now. So, you know, that they're just putting kind of like the boot in, as it were.
Yeah, I know it's always been a talk about the modern game. People say, oh, I wish it was like the olden days of Willie Miller and Alex McLeish putting in these challenges. But the modern game, it's changed. And guys like Callum Butcher, he just returned from a 2-match suspension and came on in the second half, substituting that match against Celtic. And as you say, all he done was, and I don't like to call up players, but I think it's rightful here, he just went out to injure the opposition players. And that's a player that's just back from suspension, then wait a further suspension. So if I was Tam Courts, I'm not surprised that he was stripped of captaincy recently, Callum Butcher, because you can't go about we can go on to the refs and comments on that in a sec, but footballers can't in this day and age go in with challenges like that and expect to get away with it.
And you've got to remember as well, Robbie, that David Turnbull he was signing for Celtic. When was it? 2 seasons ago, and I think he failed his medical at the time. So I mean, it says a lot of David Turnbull to come back and say that I want to play for Celtic, and then Sunday's game against Dundee United, and then they finished his career, and if it finished his career, but Butcher never get sent off actually on the game, and but I mean, you've got to ask yourself the question as well, like, why does it take to Tuesday to basically give Butcher the red card? Like I'm a big believer about Scottish football's behind the times,
Absolutely,
quite a lot in terms of, like, when you see games down south, and if that was an incident like Butcher done to a Chelsea player, whatever, it would have been either sent off on the game or maybe got the FA might have basically sent him off on like the Monday night. But that this is 2 days after the Dundee United game at the weekend, so we're against the times, and when it comes to things like that, and it shows up, and it shows Scottish football up, because we're very slow at kind of like acting upon things as well. A bit like when players are kind of like sent off and they're not kind of like banned for one of the games, and there's a lot kind of in my head about the SFA that I'm not happy with for many years, and for all clubs as well,
Yeah, I totally agree. You look at Lee Griffiths with the incident of kicking something into the fans. That took ages to be like sorted out, and then even with the Funzo Ojo incident with the Dundee United fan, things could have been dealt with it quicker and more faster. So SFA, yeah, definitely. Today, for viewers, Callum Butcher has been charged by SFA following that challenge, and there was an SFA disciplinary panel of 3 former referees who deemed the incident red card worthy. But twice, I know I don't get my talk with the debate on VAR tonight, but you do pose that question. If VAR was there, none of this, things would be, it might delay the game by a few minutes at a time, but none of this repercussions to the Tuesday would be happening. It's a no-brainer for me.
And I was actually speaking to one of my pals about this today, and I made a flippant joke about if they were full-time would make the same mistakes.
I think it's a very good point. Like, what do you feel on that matter of full-time referees? Do you think that's something that needs to come in sooner rather than later in Scottish football?
Well, yeah, and that's what I was talking about Scottish football being very much out of date in terms of with other leagues around the world, VR, full-time refs and all that, and a better TV deal. I'm not going to get started on the TV deal tonight because I'll be here till next week. But I mean, I would like to see it coming in. But whether that will happen or not, I've got no idea.
Yeah, it's one of those things that we all know how long these things can take to be, and money can be tight, but it's something that I'd love to see. And did you see the comments of former Scotland boss Craig Levein on BBC Sports Sound last night regarding referees? I think it's a good time to come on to that.
Yeah. I actually listened to the podcast last night on after the show, and I thought that was quite interesting what he was saying. But today, that on the website, that he's actually came out and named the ref, who it was. And don't worry, I'm not going to mention the ref's name if you don't want me to. And when they did mention his name, I actually forgot about he was a ref. Maybe because he was that bad, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, good on Craig Levine for coming out, because you don't get any managers. In fact, you don't get any managers at all. Ex-managers, I mean, coming out and say that, oh, he cost us the game and all that. But but the game that he was talking about, I don't know if you saw it. I managed to see it again. How Rangers got away with the tackles and a headbutt and the Dundee United player. It's too shocking. But yeah, I mean, well done for Craig Levine for coming out, because, as I say, that there won't be any managers that I know or I remember that would come out and say that. And what he was saying on the interview after the game was, Lornish Rangers wins. Lornish, they get a penalty. Lornish, they get that. And I was laughing as well, because on the game was on Setanta. And as well what I do. I mean, Setanta's been away for about 10 years or maybe more. Yeah, so we've been speaking about the same issue for years and years and years, and Setanta's been away for that length of time, and we're still not any further forward.
And I think this show's called The State of Scottish Football, and I think these are the things and the topics that does need to be discussed and put to the limelight, because, quite frankly, times has moved on in the last decade or so, but Scottish football and the bigwigs sometimes don't seem to do so. And just for any viewers who didn't know what Levine said, he was like, well, I can go back to a game when I was at Dundee United at Ibrox, and the official were absolutely appalling. He made mistake after mistake. And then when BBC's Kenny McIntyre asked, was it pressure from the crowd? He was like, no, it was his last game, his very last game. And he got given a game at Ibrox because I believe he was a Rangers fan. And it's one of these, I know it's probably created some stir amongst fans, especially of Rangers supporters, but it's one, maybe put my right specs on. I can see, and as you're saying, we watched that game, and there's some dubious decisions in that game.
Yeah, and it wasn't just one or two, it was like four, and I always laugh at managers or whatever after the game to say, well, it's an honest mistake. But they've been saying that for about 50 years, so when are they going to use some other word instead of, oh, it's an honest mistake? So yeah, I mean, and on that interview that Craig Levine done to Setanta at the time, he actually, I don't know if you got a chance to see it, and if anybody's watching this, I would recommend you seen it, but he actually done well to keep his cool on that interview, in terms of not swearing or whatever, but yeah, I mean, it just shows you that it's been going on for years, and I'll continue to go on because nothing seems to be done about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, because it's not to say, oh, there's conspiracy against all the other teams in the league, but it has been something that managers time after time have pointed out, and it must be hard to keep their cool, and be interesting to see viewers, and maybe yourself, you might have seen what Jude Bellingham, Borussia Dortmund, said the other day. He's now been fined €40,000, I think, and he was having a go at the officiating. So it'd be interesting to see if anyone in Scottish football, actually currently in it, Craig Levine's ex-manager, now pundit, but if they would come out and say anything against these referees in that manner, because sometimes maybe it's needed.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, but I mean, you would say, because surely refs and all that would listen to sports sound and all that, But, it's just a case of, well, yeah, okay, that's his point of view, but It's my job. You know, and the sad part about it is they're actually, I mean, that mistake, that tackle that Butcher done on Tumble, that ref get paid for that. And then he never sent him off. You know, so you're thinking, well, they're getting paid for not doing their job right. And that's, you know, that's the sad part. Because if me and you done that in the workplace, well, not that tackle, but if me and you done something to kind of upset with work colleagues, we would get thrown the door.
I know, exactly. It's one of these things that it's double standards, and
yeah,
you probably need to put the letter of the law down and follow it consistently. And I think hopefully in the next year or so, we'll see maybe that introduction of VAR and full-time referees. And will that make a difference? I don't know. Let us know in the comments. Do you think that'll be the case? Because if it's still the same, like in England, I think they have Stockley Park where someone is operating the VAR. Where would our VAR be, and who would be operating? That's a question I ask myself a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, it's nice to hear you saying that happens in all parts of, so that all over the world, like German football. But we can actually only deal, you know, in Scottish football. I mean, the only time that we see VAR in Scottish football is when Celtic or Rangers is in European football, and that's it. You know, we don't see it in the, you know, the League Cup final coming up, or the Premiership games at the weekend, you know.
No, exactly. And just moving away from referee bashing, but although it has to be said and has to be done, I'm sure there'll be a lot of conversation and discussion generated from that. But mention Celtic, one of the, I guess, talking points along the banner tonight is Celtic depth crucial in Christmas period. But fullback Greg Taylor, who is just back from injury, has said today competition with places at Celtic drives the standard through the roof and welcomes the prospect of vying with a new left back. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that is needed, and it's always got to be the case that Postecoglou is going to get his own players in?
Yeah, I was actually at that press conference today, and I thought Greg Taylor spoke well as well. But yeah, there's always competitions up for grabs at any kind of like club. But yeah, more be at Celtic as well. Because I mean, Postecoglou's done a brilliant job. He's actually put a full team together just in a few months. What was it, 12 players as well? And I suppose that if you were interviewing him tonight, he would say, well, we've not won anything. And I suppose he's right in saying that. But, you know, to take Celtic where they were last season to this season, it's kind of night and day. And I'm not talking about no fans in the stadium. I just mean people kind of like, I just mean people like on the park as well. So the players on the park as well. So yeah, I mean, but it was good to see Greg Taylor back in the team on Sunday. I thought he played well for his first game back. It's a bit worrying actually, because obviously Jota's out the cup final, and the talk him being out the New Year in Derby as well. And also, I mean, during Celtic's keeping a bit quiet on that one, but I think there's something more serious that's happened to Jordan than everybody knows, because every time that I go out to the press conference, Ange Postecoglou always says, well, yeah, he's working well, and that's all he says, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, if you can get one or two injuries, you know, and the squad is bare at the best of times as well, you know. But I know Celtic's got his strength in the new year as well. But yeah, I mean, it's always important to not keep buying players for the sake of buying players, but buying players for the sake of good competition and kind of like healthy competition as well.
Yeah, I always say that you don't want just squad fillers for the sake of it. You've got to look at your team and think, who can I get, and have that healthy competition for places at the end of the day. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention, or I'm not going to pronounce the name of the players because I don't know how to pronounce them, but they've been linked with the Japanese players in the January transfer window, and I personally think that's great for Scottish football. We've seen what Kyogo Furuhashi has done, the impact he's made at Celtic so far. He came from Japan, and the fact that he has managed overseas and in that neck of the woods, he could bring some real quality players to the Scottish Premiership.
I suppose that it's like a two-way win, you would say, because obviously if you're bringing in the Japanese players, and yeah, I'm in the same camp as you, I can't pronounce them, so I know that you were looking at me to pronounce the name,
Yeah.
but I can't help you in that one. But to bring in players to excite the fans, but also to sell Scottish football overseas, because a lot of people would think, well, Scottish football is not a brilliant league, but as soon as you see it, like, because I was watching the Hibs and St Mirren game on Saturday, and that was a good game, and that was a non-Celtic Rangers game as well. But I mean, it's back to what you were saying early on about if we can sell Scottish football to different countries, then other players will come. A bit like Andrew Postecoglou, because nobody's heard of him, and he's like a one-man band because he's not brought a director of football, coaching staff or whatever. He's doing a brilliant job on his own, and he's a brilliant guy to kind of like speak to, and they put the media in Scotland in the place at times.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I do love every time I do always like to tune into the Postecoglou press conferences, because usually a good one-liner from out of that. But it's good to have these characters within Scottish football, and you make that really good point that it sells the game abroad. You see the SPFL are very sly when they put up Celtic highlights a lot of the time. They include Kyogo's name in the SEO because it gets the Asian market, I guess, tuning in and wanting to watch these highlights and games and an interest in Scottish football. And at the end of the day, we want that because we want the best TV deals, more commercial money, and more money for the league to be as strong as it can be.
And I don't know if you know, but when Kyogo signed for Celtic, and another Celtic opened a Twitter account on kind of like Japanese as well. So that you're making, this is a club kind of like open to anyone from anywhere in the world, basically. So I suppose that's kind of like good to see, because at the end of the day, it's one big like football community, you would say.
And yeah, exactly. It's very shrewd from Celtic, and it's good from the marketing team to notice that right away. We've got a manager who's managed in Japan. We're getting players potentially from there, so open a Japanese account, and you also get merchandise sales from that as well. So it's a win-win situation for Celtic, and you've got to look just at the weekend's game or recent games for Celtic while we touch on them. About squad depth, but guys like Tom Rogic, who I hate even mention his name as an Aberdeen fan, still breaks my heart to speak about him, but what a goal he scored at the weekend, cutting inside and unleashing that shot, and just shows sometimes in the past few years he's been a bit part player, not started consistently, but seems to be finding his best form under Ange.
I think one of the things that you say, Gary, on about you like listening to Ange Postecoglou's press conference, but he came away with a brilliant line on Sunday after the game that he was speaking to Sky, and he said, don't put on the kettle or don't walk away from the TV, because as soon as you can come back, Tom Rogic will score a goal. And yeah, I think this must go for all the Celtic team, but yeah, Tom Rogic as well. I found like a new lease of life under kind of like Angie Postecoglou as well. And he looks a totally different player than they did maybe like when Brendan Rodgers was there as well. You know, you know, and Tom Rodgers just dances about that football park with the football, and it makes it look kind of like easy as well. But yeah, I mean, it was such a brilliant goal. It put me in the mind of Paddy McCourt when they played for Celtic, kind of beating 3 or 4 men. But I think Tom Rodgers beat about 12 men. Yeah, you know, and yeah, he put the ball in the bottom corner well of the goal. Good goal and good move as well. But
Yeah.
one of these weeks we'll see him playing 90 minutes.
Yeah, it reminds me of Paddy McCourt in a way, a very talented player, but just can't get that consistent 90 minutes a run of games. But on that Rodgers goal, I do agree with you, and I did say it earlier that it was a fantastic goal, and it was. But surely, as you say, how much players did he go past? Do you not get told? I was saying this to my colleague at work today. Just put a challenge in. It doesn't need to be a cynical, Butcher-esque challenge, but just take him down, take a yellow card, because he walks past that Dundee United defence. But you can look at it on the other side. It just shows how quick feet and skillful the Australian is.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've got to be switched on when you play the big two in Scottish football. But as you say as well, that there's an old phrase in Scottish football, that is a good foul as well. And you know, just show them the line, or just, you know, whatever. You know, you're never gonna, you know, and all that, you know. But when he's on fire, I don't think you can beat him. That's the thing at the end of the day.
Yeah, and Celtic's opponents on Sunday were Dundee United, and on this show last Tuesday when I was calling, I was singing Dundee United's praise in a sense, thinking they're having a very good season, which you can still look at the table and say, yeah, they are, they may be overachieving, but one of the poorer performances on Sunday, and also now chasing back teams that have been struggling, such as Aberdeen, only 4 points behind. Does that just really show how form can change so quickly?
Yeah, you're dead right there, Robbie. I mean, football's a funny old game, because when Dundee United come up, you know, like Dundee United's always been a big team, you know, and obviously they've been out the top flight for a wee while. But when they come up and you know, they beat Rangers, nobody was expecting that. Everybody was expecting a hard game, but they were expecting Rangers to kind of edge the game, you would say. And I think that was what was it, Tom Courts' second game of the season or something. And then they went to Celtic Park and got a point out of that game. Now, you know, people can argue that, oh, Celtic never played well that day or whatever, but I mean, I'm sure Dundee United wasn't bothered about Celtic that day. And I mean, I always speak about it because that's the only team I've actually seen coming to Ibrox or Parkhead for a while and coming out and having a go. Big, you know, because you usually go to, as I say, Parkhead, and teams park the bus. You know, I'm thinking about Ross County, Hamilton when they were in the top flight as well. But Dundee United actually came out. But yeah, when I heard that start on Sunday at the game, no one in, what was it, 7 games, and I was a bit surprised at that, because you know, Dundee United, yeah, they were very disappointing on Sunday, I suppose, you know, but I thought they would get off a bit more, especially at home as well. But yeah, I was quite surprised when I heard that no one's in 7 kind of thing, you know. But no, I mean, I think they'll still be up and about it, you know. Whether hopefully that'll be the top half of the table, because yeah, Dundee United is one of these teams that should be in the top league.
Yeah, definitely. One of Scotland's big cities and representing that, Dundee United. And I think Tam Courts has done a great job regardless of the recent form, it is, I'm afraid to say as an Aberdeen supporter, 1 win in 7. They did beat Aberdeen a few weeks ago in that controversial encounter. But yeah, not really good enough form, but still sit tied in 4th place with Motherwell, 5 points behind Hearts. So, as you say, it could change a lot, and that's why I wanted to just move on to my club, Aberdeen, the team I support, because I think it's a big turnaround in the Granite City in the last week. They went from 3 defeats on the bounce to now back-to-back victories over Livingston and St Mirren, and that's propelled Aberdeen from some of the chat forums and Twitter talking about a relegation fight to now 4 points off Dundee United, who a lot of people have been praising all season. So a perfect example of how just a couple of wins can really turn fortunes and bring that positivity back to a football club, would you say?
Yeah, no, I mean, as I said, football's a fun little game, or some you say get well before my time, I think. But yeah, I mean, 2 wins and you're back in the top 6, you know. But yeah, I mean, I've been a bit disappointed with Aberdeen this season, because I mean they have got a good team, you know, like Johnny Hayes and people like that, and adding Scott Brown to the team and being a coach and a captain as well. You thought, well, surely that's got to give the team like a lift as well, you know. And but I mean, everybody wrote them off the other week, didn't they, when they went to Ibrox, and everybody thought Rangers were going to have a comfortable win, but you got to point out that game, you know, and unlucky not to win that night as well. So yeah, football it's like a windy road basically, or that I like to say, can like the hokey cokey, you know, because 1 week like you're in, and that's week you're kind of like out as well. But yeah, it's a long season, you know. There's still a lot of football to be played, and you know, it's not even Christmas yet, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's why there's been calls for sackings of managers such as Stephen Glass, when I think they went a 7 game or maybe more, 9 games without a win earlier in the season. And I think it's only 1 away win in the last, since they beat Livingston back in one of the first aways of the season. So it's an upturn in fortunes, but I totally agree with you, as you being an outsider, that Aberdeen, Stephen Glass, he's been backed in the transfer window. He has built up a very big squad, because the player that I'm just going to chat about in a minute, Matty Longstaff, signed on loan from Newcastle, much to a lot of fanfare. It's scored against Manchester United in the Premier League. Newcastle fans have thought very highly of, but he's only made 3 appearances for Aberdeen, mostly as a substitute, and now at the weekend was out the squad completely. Do you think that's an example of another player coming up to Scotland and thinking it's going to be a stroll like we've seen in the past?
Yeah, and you can go along the lines of managers as well. And you would say, you know, I'm coming up here because it's a stepping stone for a bigger club in England, or maybe for the field, you know. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right about players coming up to Scotland and to say, well, I've not got a team, I want some money. So, you know, I'm just going up to Aberdeen to make money, and I don't really care if I get a game or not, you know, and all that. And that shouldn't be about that, you know. It should be about, you know, playing football that you love, no matter what country that you're in, and all that, you know. But yeah, I mean, I do feel as though people who use this Scottish football could go elsewhere, and that's not kind of right, you know. And that's why I was saying earlier on about selling Scottish football, because if we sell Scottish football in the right way, then people will take Scottish football more seriously.
Definitely. Even having, when we had Stephen Gerrard in the Scottish League, we've had Robbie Keane in the past, these big names attract interest from south of the border or alike as well. And that's what you want, because even to this day, well, the state of Scottish football, some people still diminish what the Scottish League's like. And I was in Newcastle at the weekend at game against Burnley, and topic of Matty Longstaff at Aberdeen, he's on loan from there. The newspapers down there saying they might recall him, and if they're going to be the richest club in the world, and he's not getting a game at Aberdeen in the Scottish Premiership, what chances does he have of getting that Newcastle side, despite their league position? So it just shows that it was in going back to players like Joey Barton in the past coming to Scottish football. Some players do maybe underestimate it, or just, I guess, you get players that just don't fit into certain teams. On the other hand, as well.
Yeah, I mean, it could be about that, and it could be about the agents as well, because I know that I've heard in the past that a lot of agents has got a lot of say in these kind of deals, and they get a cut when players go to Aberdeen or any other teams in Scottish football as well. But yeah, I mean, we saw it in the past, and I don't really like it when I see it. And you know, I might think that I'm a bit of a dinosaur here, but you know, it's you know, football is football. You know, you love football, and like you know, it doesn't depend on how much money that like you well. Maybe it is, but maybe this is my opinion. But you know, like if I was a professional football player, I would play football. I wouldn't kind of bother about the money as well. Even though I'm saying that now, I might have a different opinion on it when I, you know, but you know what I mean. But it really annoys you that when you know, Steven Gerrard was up here, Brendan Rodgers was up here, Joey Barton and stuff like that. And these actually, the managers and players actually walked out halfway through the season. Now, it might be different if they went at the end of the season, then you would say, well, the season's over and all that kind of thing. But they left halfway. Well, not even halfway through the season, you know. But yeah, I guess it was all that they're waiting for the right job to come up. Perfect example is Eddie Howe, you know. He came up and said, "Oh, the job was too big for Celtic." So the job was too big for him. But yeah, Andy Postecoglou came from miles away, and you know his hand will get brilliantly. So you know, but yeah, everybody loves the Premiership in England.
Yeah, I definitely think it's one of those. You make a good point on if you play football. I know this is going off topic and just in, I guess, a bigger debate, but if you're a footballer, I don't know why you wouldn't want to put 100% in every training session, because I'm assuming you're a footballer because you love it. So even like going back to the previous topic earlier, Callum Butcher, surely you wouldn't turn up on a football pitch and then all you want to do is kick people. Surely you want to play the best, make your family and friends proud, and your team win at the end of the day. That's inevitably what football's for. And the fact that Scottish football, we've got characters, as we spoke about, Postecoglou. Do you see he said in the Glasgow Times, ahead of the group game against Real Betis, that he's denied it's a meaningless fixture by saying he's got one bad knee and he's overweight, but he'd love to play European nights are always special for the club. And I just thought, as another one-liner, spoke about one-liners with him, that it's just, he can entertain, despite not being a Celtic fan, you get a laugh when you read these things that he just call himself overweight and say this.
Yeah, no, it's one of these, he's one of these guys who would like to be in this company. Him and maybe Gorgon Scracken, you know, for half an hour or an hour or something like that. That would be what you would say in the West of Scotland, good banter between the two of them as well. But yeah, also just quickly, I also heard him Postecoglou, I think it was a interview that I did with the Record. What was it last night? And I was saying that basically first gets games are gig rubber, but there's no meaningless games here. Meaning basically, you know, the game doesn't mean anything to Celtic, but they still want to win the game and still want to put in a professional performance, and that's what you want to hear from a manager.
Yeah, exactly. You want that. So much time, like fans could say, "Oh, players need to do the talking on the pitch because you see them coming out in the papers, etc. But I like that when Postecoglou is being so bold, but he's also having a bit of a laugh about it as well. And just having, as someone like myself in the media, you like that characters that are open and bubbly, and you know you're going to get a good answer for him. And funnily enough, it must be a Celtic thing because the women's manager, Fan Alonso, also is a very, you know, he's got to give you a long answer. You know, he's got to give you a high five, a hug, and he's a really good guy. So it's good when you have these people in Scottish football, definitely.
Yeah. And I think that the common denominator between the two guys is they're not Scottish. So that's what I mean about, you know, selling Scottish football to far-wide countries as well.
And yeah, exactly. And just for you mentioned banter just not long ago, and we use that word in the West Coast. We only got about 5 minutes left of the show, and just thought, talking of banter, it wasn't such banter for Falkirk fans at the weekend. A bit of a blow result, just something I wanted to touch on because I seen it was the AGM, I think, last night. A 6-0 defeat to Queen's Park, and I seen a few journalists online say that Falkirk, similar size fan base to the likes of St Johnstone, St Mirren, Inverness, and I think this will be a third season, or maybe fourth in League One, and getting thrashed by Queen's Park. Like, what is that all about?
Yeah, when I heard that score coming through on Saturday, I couldn't believe it. I thought kind of like I picked the score wrong or whatever, but yeah, totally embarrassing for Falkirk because Queen's Park is kind of a part-time team as well. And by the way, Queen's Park's one a team to watch coming up in a few years as well. Because have they not signed a director of football from Italy or something?
AZ Alkmaar in the Eredivisie in Netherlands. I think they signed the sporting director or something. It's really,
so I mean that's what I mean about selling Scottish football. But yeah, I mean I was very surprised when I saw that score on Saturday night because Falkirk, I mean, were they not in the playoffs a few years ago to come up to the Premiership? And was it Hibs beat them or whatever in the semi-final or the final? I can't remember. But I mean, Falkirk's got a nice gig in there. I've been there a few times back in the day. And, you know, and they had a decent team as well. And the had was Brian Rice not there and John Shoes not there. As the manager and assistant manager as well. But yeah, I mean it's weird how football just kind of turns on its head sometimes as well, and it definitely turned on its head a few times on Saturday against Queen's Park. But yeah, I mean it just shows you.
Yeah, and to be honest, watching the highlights back, I think someone shared them on Twitter, much to my delight. Obviously not to Falkirk fans' delight if you're watching, but even the defending, you would be questioning match fixing because I'd understand if it was good goals, but the lack of effort, there must be, it's not just badly run to the core Falkirk Football Club, there's something deeply wrong as well, which resulted in manager Paul Sheeran, who had only been in charge a couple of months. He got dismissed just yesterday, I think.
Yeah, he got dismissed from his job, but you know, it's hard to believe that Falkirk were a kind of, no offense to Falkirk fans, but they were a big team a few years ago. They were, you know, mixing with the big boys up in the league, and okay, they got knocked out the playoffs, but you know they were still in a month the park, you would say, and you know, going from all that to getting beat 6-0 the weekend by, you know, a part-time team, Queen's Park, and it's hard to believe, but yeah. So it was one of these scores you would say. Am I right? Am I hearing that one right? Yeah, you know, and that was definitely up there on Saturday when I saw that one.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those where you're looking at the video printer and thinking, is this for sure? It was like just because I know we're running out of time. But
Yep.
on that topic of, I guess, misinterpreting scores or thinking you did, when I looked a few weeks ago and it was 3-0 Hibs against Rangers, I had to message my dad and say, is this for certain? Because Hibs hadn't won in the previous 5 games and then done that. And you look at Queen's Park, they've just beat Falkirk 6-0, but they still lie 5 points behind league leaders Cove Rangers in League One. So it shows that, as we say, marketing Scottish football, another exciting league and ambitious teams. Cove, another team from the northeast of Scotland, ambitious. Queen's Park as well. And Falkirk, a team that I've got expectation of the support and Scottish football to get back up, but it won't be easy, already being 9 points behind the league leaders after 16 games. So the state of Scottish football, well, Michael, it's been a pleasure this evening, but I think it's time to wrap up. So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Thank you very much.